Hey everyone, and welcome. You're listening to the next episode of Turn Zero Drive Home Edition. This is a solo Marvel Snap podcast where I talk about all the latest info you need before you start the first turn of a game while I drive home from work. I'm your host August, and let's drive home. So we got a brand new season coming at us right now. We got the Guardians Greatest Hits Volume 2. 8 new cards. It looks like, judging from data mines that we've seen, and from just the last couple months of releases, that they are slowing down on the amount of cards that are coming out. So towards the end of last year, we noticed we were getting about 10 to 12 cards a season. Now we seem to be in the camp of 8. This means that we're not getting as many Series 4 cards anymore, which has its pros and cons. I personally was liking a lot of the Series 4 releases. We got stuff like Batroc, which has been really great. So I was hoping for more cards like that, just things that would go straight to Series 4 to buy. Without those kind of things, it is a lot easier to get more cards because you're not focusing on these kind of extra cards that you don't need to worry about anymore. So we'll see how this affects the economy, how people are liking this. This combined with the free pack that you get when you buy the season pass in the web store, I think is actually pretty huge for those that are trying to be like low spending to no spending. If you get that season pass, if that's the only thing you buy, then you're getting a whole extra card a month that other people aren't. And that with less cards a month means there's more. You're going to be closer and closer to finishing that collection if that's what you're after. So let's talk about these 8 cards. Some of them are already out already. I've got to play with a couple of them, and so let's see. So Star-Lord, Master of the Sun. This is our season pass card. 4/5 on reveal. Next turn you get +1 energy for each turn you've ended with unspent energy. This gains that much power. So if you've been playing Snap at all for this week, you have seen this guy. He's everywhere right now. New season pass, new hotness, and it's definitely taking off. Extra energy has predominantly been a very abusable strategy in Marvel Snap, and this guy just gives you so much of it. Being on a 4 cost is huge. It lets you play him on 4 and then use your turn 5 to copy it by doing stuff like Absman or Grandmaster, or even Zola with the extra energy you get from Star-Lord himself. Things like this are the things you want to be doing at the moment. You want to be abusing the energy and doing it multiplicatively. Just using it for its straight up one-time effect on turn 5 has not proven to be as useful. I personally was pretty low on this guy before the season started, because every deck that I heard him being played in felt like cope, really. High Evolutionary hasn't been a dominant deck in a long time, but Star-Lord here has definitely proven that he proven me wrong, and definitely showing that once again extra energy is something to be feared. So if you have the season pass, you want to be playing this guy, and if you don't have the season pass, you want to be countering this guy. You want to be using Cosmo, you want to be using Goliath. You want to try and stop them from doubling up on this ability or trying to take advantage of it. There's also that Hela deck that's rolling around right now where you play Star-Lord on 5, and then with the combined energy you get, you can play MODOK and Hela on the same turn. So you're definitely going to want Stardust for that, because that'll shut them down completely. So we'll see where this guy goes. I know I'm hearing a lot of, is this better than Shou Lao? Is this a new pay-to-win season pass card? I think right now it's very surprising, and it's caught a lot of people deck building wise off guard, but I think we'll see that kind of level out in the next couple weeks. I don't think this is nearly as impressive as Shou Lao ended up being. The next card is Magus. 3/5. Activate. Copy the text of a character in your deck with cost equal to your unspent energy without using it on reveal. So if you've been keeping up with the data mines, you'll know that this extra line there was added recently. This keeps him from being, in my opinion, any good. You've effectively removed 2 keywords from the card pool that he can use. Activate, because you can't activate a card twice even if you get a new ability. Magus has already been activated the first time. And on reveals, which are a pretty big chunk of Marvel Snap. So once you've taken out those, you're left with non-keyworded abilities and things like ongoings, and when destroy, when discarded, that kind of stuff. I'm not too sure where he will end up. I know this is the kind of card that's more for like the deck building kind of people, the people that are jamming the new stuff and trying to figure out how to use that with the old stuff, and pull out like these insane combos that we haven't really thought of before. Magus is definitely the kind of card that lends into that. Whether he can be abusable in his niche is something that remains to be seen. My thoughts toward Magus look more towards the future. If you've seen the data mines for March, you'll know we have a new keyword coming up, objective, and I think Magus might be able to see some play there, depending on if there's objectives that we want to copy a couple times. As of right now, I've seen him sparingly used in like ongoing stuff. I did get caught off guard one time earlier this week where someone used him to copy a sunspot, and then he was just able to hold a lane on its own. It's okay. I think his best days, if there are any, are far ahead from us. The next card from this week is Moondragon. So Moondragon is a 2/2, end of turn, +2 power if you've played 1 card this turn and spent all your energy. This is you've heard people talk about this card a couple times already if you've been following other kind of Marvel Snap content creators. This is basically a Doom 2099 card. If you're playing exactly 1 card a turn, you want as many kind of buffs as you would get from that. Doom 2099 would make a Doom bot. Moon Dragon here would get +2 power. Eventually, there will be enough triggers on enough cards that as you're playing these, you're gonna like exponentially increase your board presence. Right now, I don't think we're there yet at all. I've been playing Snap, off and on this whole week, doing my infinite climb. I'm in the 90s. I've seen Moondragon exactly 1 time, and it was actually in Sanctum Showdown. So I don't think that there's much happening with her at the moment. So if you're not, rushing out to buy it, I don't think you need to. All right, next week we're going to have 2 new cards coming at us. So next week, the first one is Drax, Avatar of Life. This is our Series 5 card for the week. It's a 3/4, end of turn, +3 power if your opponent played a card with greater power this turn. Move to that card if you'd be winning its location. I really like Drax. I think this is going to be a great card. I think this is the kind of card that has staying power, that like you'll see this be used a lot this month and then throughout the months as just like a regular stat stick. It reminds me a lot of like when Gladiator and Speed came out. They were just honest stats that were higher than the average that you'd find at that cost. Except Drax doesn't really seem to have the kind of downside that Gladiator is associated with. It moves and your opponent is in control of the move, but because it moves to a location where you would lose, like it doesn't even move to a location you're losing, it moves to a location that you would then win. So that's the difference here with some of these other types of cards that have this effect. You can't just like play a big guy and pull their Drax away. The Drax will only move if it's going to then win that location. It gets the power no matter what, even if it doesn't move, and it starts at 3/4. So your opponent is basically never playing anything smaller than 5. Otherwise, they're not going to really win the game themselves. So you can really look at Drax as kind of starting off as like a 3/7. If you think of him as a 3/7 with that upside to become a 3/10 and move, and potentially even a 3/13, right? Like it just depends on what your opponent is playing. I really like this as like a mid-range kind of card. I think this is going to be the kind of staple that you see going forward in those kind of archetypes. The issue is that we're not really in a meta game that is favorable to that. When we're talking about people playing a card with more power, you're getting things thrown at you like Fing Fang Foom or Man Spider, which just have, power in like the 40s. And so making a Drax, a 13 and then moving it, it's not even going to move because it can't overpower that kind of location. So I'm not too sure that immediately it's going to be good, but this is the kind of card that you keep an eye out on and see where it's used in. All right, the next card for that week is Major Victory. Major Victory comes at us through Grand Arena. So that Grand Arena starts on, I believe it's February 12th and lasts for a week. It is a 3/4 with on reveal. Add 2 members of the Guardian's crew to your hand. The Guardian's crew is kind of like a batch keyword. Like it's like a new thing that groups together a set. So that set is Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, Drax, Groot, Gamora, and Mantis. Typical Series 1 cards. I think actually Drax is even Series 3 for some reason. But yeah, there's the basic ones where, when you play it at the same time an opponent plays a card, they get extra power or another ability. I want to like Major Victory. This is a cool idea. I like the idea of like it creates its own subset of cards that it pulls from, and then it gives you options in your hand. The problem is these options are not great. This combined with that new location, the Milano coming out near the end of the month, which also does the same thing by adding a Guardians crew member to your hand, makes me think that there is a possibility that they could be buffing or reworking these Guardians. I had a whole video about it the other week. You can check that out to see the kind of ideas that I was floating around. Basically, I wanted to move away from they all do exactly the same thing of gaining 4 power to having some more variety. That way, when you're getting random pulls in your hand, they're not all just doing the same thing. But since none of that's confirmed, we have to look at Major Victory as it is, and as is, doesn't seem that great of a card. Grand Arena itself is pretty fun. So if you're just playing that and you happen to get Major Victory that way, keeps them out of your Series Full pool for later, that's worth considering. But I don't know if I'd go out of my way to get him thinking that he's going to be a key piece in something. Next up, week 3, we got Kraglin. Kraglin is our 3/3 on reveal. Banish the top card of your deck. If it was 4 cost or higher, +2 energy next turn. Otherwise, give this +4 power. I don't think Kraglin's going to be particularly great, but I think he might be better than everyone's kind of dismissing him as. People kind of look at Kraglin, look at the abilities, and go, this isn't really worth the squeeze. And I tend to agree. Like, I think a 3/3 that gives +2 energy is not as good as other 3-cost ramp options we have. It's only a one-time boost, so it's not even like +2 going forward. So cards like Hope Summers or the Superior Spider-Man do that kind of continuous energy and burst of energy a little bit better in the case of Hope. And then cards like Luna and even Electro have now kind of grown into the de facto 3-cost ramps. So Kraglin needs to do this, but it also has to have the cost of losing one of your 4 cost or higher cards to do it. So the things that you'd be ramping into, you have to effectively get rid of one of them just to ramp into a different one in your hand. And I don't really like that. I don't know why it needs to do that. Like, balance-wise, I don't. Maybe if it gave +3 energy or something, so you're going for on turn 4, you had 7 energy to work with, so you can maybe even play these new 7-cost cards like Fing Fang Foom. But as it is, I don't think the ramp part is very good. The gaining power part, I unironically think is better. So this makes Kraglin a 3/7 just off of one trigger. You can easily stack your deck with lower cost cards, so this happens more often. And then you can double this up by doing things like Grandmaster to move it and do it again. You could play it on a Wong lane. You can do it with Symbiote Spider-Man. There's many ways to do this +4 again and again, which I think might be a better use of Kraglin. I just can't think of a deck or strategy that would want to do this specifically. That, I'm thinking, 3 costs, maybe it's a Surfer card, but Surfer cards these days aren't really looking for quick bursts of power. They're looking to more kind of spread long-term power, like with Captain Carter or Maverick. So I don't know really what kind of home this guy fits in. The deck thinning is worth noting. So if you're looking to maybe do a strategy where you're buffing smaller cards a few times and you're digging for specific cards in the deck, this might be the kind of card you're looking at. But as of right now, I don't really see a home for it. That being said, I think it's better than it's being written off as, like I was saying. There's potential here if I can, drill it down. Last Series 5 release of the month is Jack Flag. Jack Flag is a 3/3 ongoing. Your cards here with increased power have +2 power. So this is a way to kind of further increase your board-wide buffs. You're going to have cards that are looking to buff across the whole board, and Jack Flag will then increase the buff in that lane by another 2 power. So you do something like Spectrum or Aurora that hits a bunch of cards, and then everywhere in the Jack Flag lane, including himself, will gain an additional 2. It's a way to kind of grow taller in a deck that's looking to go wider across different lanes. I think it has interesting potential. I'm thinking of it with like Victoria Hand as well. You definitely always want to copy the Victoria Hand as much as you can in those decks, but as a nice plan B, you could throw down this Jack Flag, and it also does a similar kind of +2 in that lane. I think this card was a lot better when I read it wrongly. I kept missing the here part when I first read Jack Flag, and I was like, oh wow, this is going to be amazing. But since it's specifically located into one location, it's more about trying to go over the hump on one location rather than trying to increase your presence everywhere. So him himself, I think he's going to be like a pretty medium-sized card. We'll see him in random strategies, but I don't think there's going to be a big deck dedicated to him specifically. Excuse me. Our last card is Starhawk. So this is a Series 4 card that comes from Sanctum Showdown. Yes, we're getting Sanctum Showdown two months in a row. I think it kind of fits because Showdown has generally been seen as like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of game mode. Okay, so Starhawk is a 2/2. On reveal, on odd turns, give your cards in the left location +1 power. On even turns, give it to the right. So I like this as like a bounce card. You can see it as the kind of card that you play it in a location, then you bounce it with Toxin or Beast, then you play it in the other location, you keep doing that a couple times, and you're spreading buffs throughout all these smaller cards pretty quickly. It's a 2/2 itself, so it's not really asking like much in terms of cost. So you can pretty much weave this in whenever you want. For a Series 4 card, it's pretty good, I think. Like it's going to be a small guy that isn't really doing too much. I can't see this being a key piece in a huge game-winning combo, but it's definitely the kind of incremental value that I think we've kind of lost over the last few months. A lot of Marvel Snap at the moment is focused on multiplying and going as fast and as higher over your opponent as you can. When and if these kind of combos get readjusted and we go back to a more kind of slower incremental style of Marvel Snap, this guy might be something that you'll be happy is in your location. Or sorry, in your collection, rather. But yeah, that's what we got coming ahead for us this month. My excitement level, not really that high, to be honest. They all seem kind of like middling. I would like to see some balance buffs on these guys throughout the month. Hopefully then we can get more excited about what some of them do. I don't think they're particularly bad effects or even really bad stat lines. They just don't really seem to be exciting me as much as I would hope. I think the most exciting card is already out, is Star-Lord. And then I think probably the best card of the month might even be Drax, and that's coming next week. So other than that, we'll have to see what happens with these Guardians, and maybe they get better. But you tell me what you think. Tell me what if I'm wrong completely, if I'm just missing like some very obvious combo with some of these cards that is going to be really amazing and exciting. We're gonna have another episode on Tuesday because it's the data mine day. So instead of our Friday episode, it's going to be just in a couple days, and we'll be able to look at the stuff coming further ahead in the future. Maybe there's some stuff there that the Guardians will synergize with. All right. Well, we'll catch you later. Thanks, guys.